Did anybody have a quick one? Yeah, okay, all right, not her satisfied. Yeah. And somebody has. All right. It is entirely acceptable. Entirely. And I'm sure you know.
Oh, it's a grim, miserable, dark night outside. Far safer to be tucked up in here. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a tonic for jangled nerves and for tired blood. Welcome to the cabinet of Dr. Probert, wherein tonight we will be presenting for you 3 tales of the darkest of fantasies and the grimmest of horrors. Tales which will detail the very nature of evil itself. That's a very interesting word, isn't it? A very ancient word, evil. Some people nowadays prefer terms like the primordial monstrosities that lurk beneath the surface of the mind. I still prefer good, old-fashioned evil. Now, if I may draw your attention to the lady seated at the front of this auditorium. Her name is Cesarina, and she is a somnambulist of quite exceptional talent. She is neither alive nor truly dead. She exists in a twilight purgatory from which only I can wake her. And from which only I can wake her with this. A very powerful reagent of my own devising. Very dangerous, very powerful. Ooh. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you will witness Cesarina awake. Tonight, you will witness her choose 3 souls from this audience who have tales to tell. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, pray that it is not you whom fate deals a most evil hand. Cesarina? Cesarina? It's time to wake up. It's time to come forth from your dark land. Awake, Cesarina. Awake. Awake. Cesarina knows all secrets. She knows the past, and she can predict the future, as you will see for yourselves this evening. Now, Cesarina, whom has fate selected first to tell us a tale this evening?
I thought I was going through that.
This lady here. What could you tell us about this lady sitting here?
She knows the darkest secrets.
The darkest secrets of the human heart. Would that be true, madam?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes. Then perhaps you would be kind enough to tell us your tale. Take place. Ladies and gentlemen, our first tale this evening we present Miss Angela Slatter.
Evening. I apologise for Tom Waite's voice and for any horrifying coughing fits that may occur. The story I will tell you this evening is the story of the Shadow Tree. Why are you so dark, Ella? squealed Brunhild, the king's daughter. She's 13, and it's the 4th time she has asked me this since she and her brother invaded my rooms this afternoon. They're both verminous brats, exactly the kind I seek. The other one, the youngest, is not yet out of swaddling cloth, so I cannot yet judge him. Sometimes it is simply enough to leave them to do harm where they may. Yes, Ella, why so dark? Do you roll about in the dirt at night or sleep in the cinders? Balder is 14, and he equals his sister in unpleasantness, frequently surpassing her. Platinum blonde hair and violet blue eyes, they are shining flawed metal, the worst the royal house can offer. Cruel, spiteful, selfish, beautiful, utterly confident of their position in life. Nicholas Thumb said Formosa, I answer, pleased at the blank stares they give. Does your tutor not teach you Latin then? I click my tongue, a gesture both despairing and scornful. I do not translate that I am dark but comely. Ignorant children, what a lot upon the world. Brynhild throws herself at me and hangs off my skirt, trying to tear the fabric. If she had eyes and mind to see beyond the ordinary, she would notice that the material was fine woods, a heavy brocade embroidered with gold and silk thread. The filaments are so aged and dull now that their shine is lost to all the most observant. She begins to chant and will not stop. Why? Shut up, Brynhild. Balder sometimes sees further than his sister. Sometimes he tries to dig. She drops away and sits on the cold floor and sulks. You do not know your place, Ella. My place is here for the moment, for as long as I choose, I say. I do not mention that warming their father's bed now and then gives me a license to say what I please, within measure. My position as herbalist gives me power. I supply the physician with the medicines upon which his reputation rests. Ladies of the court come to me for unguents to keep their skin soft, or for draughts to get rid of inconvenient pregnancies. The Queen occasionally asks for something to make her husband sleep, and so relieve her of his demands for a night or two. Men want love philters to help them do their best by their womenfolk, or to make them eloquent before the king. The Archbishop, he comes more often than most. I've been here for 6 months, threading my way through the life of this palace and this little city of Ledellen, which thinks itself large. Soon it will be time to go. You do not speak like a servant, you do not behave like a servant. Yet I am a servant, I finished curtly. Now get out of my room and take your squalling sibling with you. You cannot order us about. I can, and I have. Now out, or there will be no stories for tonight, nor for a sennight to come. And here is my real power over them, the stories I tell. They've become small agates to our sessions and the drops of mandrake I put in their milk. The nights when I am not telling their father fables of a different sort, I spend beside their beds, recounting myths and legends to take into their dreams. Even though the children are vile, this weaving of words is a pleasure for me, and it furthers my ends. I suffer no illusions. They do not love me. As long as I provide amusement, it staves off the moment before they turn on me. Not like the one you told us last night, Ella, Balder says wearily. I shake my head and hide my smile. I gave them the history of the Earl King, and in the morning they both woke with tears on their cheeks. No, I'll tell you something exciting, something secret, not once. Where they've gone, now I unlock the door to my workroom and step inside. A thin cat detaches herself from the shadows under one of the benches. She glides around my skirts, news to be gathered up. She's black with the greenest of eyes, tiny and frail still. I rescued her from the children a month ago. They were tormenting her in the stables, had already executed her kittens, and were dangling their limp bodies in front of her. For a long while the cat wouldn't eat, but eventually I coaxed milk into her and loved her into living. She is gentle and sad. For their efforts, Brynhild and Balder spent 2 weeks vomiting and shitting, fed with one of my potions, and their sheets sprinkled with a compound that made them break out in red, itching spots. The cat's face against mine is warm, and she's soft in my hands. I hold her like a child in this flavoured room. It is dim because some of the plants and powders I work with do not like the light. It smells musty, but layered with sweetness and something bitter, dark at the very base, like rotted roses. In the end, it reminds me of home, a comfort and an ache at the same time, to remember a place and an exile from it. Hesitantly, I uncover the mirror that waits in one corner. It's big enough to show my face and torso, faded dress, cat in arms. My skin is deep olive burnt by the sun as I tramp the hills beyond the forest for herbs. My face is an oval set with dark eyes and an unbalanced mouth. Upper lip thin, the lower full. eyebrows are dark and straight, my hair as black as the cat's fur. I have the look of a gypsy, a wanderer. I wonder if perhaps my time has passed, but I can return. In hope, I touch the glass, feel it cool under my fingertips, wish that I could travel through it to the doors between worlds, back to my own place. But my exile isn't yet done. The surface remains hard and broken and impenetrable. The cat makes a soft noise when I step I bury my face in her fur. The Queen seeks a sleeping draught, not for her husband this night, but for herself. She wears lines of trouble on her brow, and they are drawn sharply around the corners of her mouth. Her eyes, the same colour she passed on to her children, seem darkened by her thoughts. Thank you, Ella. She's polite and gentle, and I'm puzzled that she bred those two vipers. Sensing the direction of my mind, perhaps she tells me, worry about my children. Madam, I feign ignorance. I don't like them, Ella. I don't like my own children. What sort of mother does that make me? Her voice holds pain and a kind of battered love. Quite a normal one, madam, I say. Parents see children as an extension of themselves, so when they go wrong, we often don't like them. Love them, yes, but like them, no. Do I even love them? Did I love them? How did they get so? They are cruel and thoughtless and selfish. I know what they did to that cat with the doctor. She puts her face in her pale hands. How? Didn't I love them enough? Sometimes that's where you go wrong. You love them too much. Discipline too little. They are spoiled, have been all their lives. And they've been taught to think only of themselves. Of no one else's desires or wants or needs. They do not think to return love, but only to expect it. She looks at me like a coiled snake. I've gone too far. You asked me, madam. I answered you with truth. I say this quietly and nod my head. She deflates and begins to weep. I try to temper her grief. There is the baby, madam, the smallest one. He may yet bring him joy. I tuck the rich linens around her, whispering that the drink will help her dreams, but the posset remains untouched. She will take it, though, in her own time. She will wish for brief oblivion. I leave. The king's page waits outside the door, and I shake my head. Then you will do for tonight, he tells me. I lean close. It would be better for you to learn some respect. Else watch what goes into your food, I add. Take pleasure in the way he blanches. I dip my head mockingly and make my way to the king's chambers. He's a thin man, voracious in his appetites. Amazing amounts of food disappear down his gullet that have no effect on his willing frame. He looks like an ascetic but eats like a glutton. His hair is white blonde, long and fine. He likes the way my dark skin is against his pale flesh. He likes the things I do to him, fulfilling desires he dares voice to no one else. He knows that I am a well for things he wishes to keep hidden. Funny that no one in this palace ever questions my ability to catch and keep secrets. I think the children's shortcomings must spring from his blood. This twice-born man is not a good king. You're late, accuses Brunhilde, sitting high against her puffed-up pillows. An enormous doll is propped next to her like a silent sister. The doll's eyes move. The creature is just barely animated by a tiny piece of song. Balder has crept across from his own bed and curls at the foot of his sister's like a lazy dog. The baby, sleeping in a nursery elsewhere, under the watchful eyes of 3 nurses, is beyond my hand. Governesses do not last long with these elder two, which is why and how I have gained such leverage. I was singing to your parents. Now hush, or there will be no tale. I settle myself on a corner of the bed, back resting against the carved post, my legs crossed under my skirts, my hands lying loose in my lap, waiting until the story needs them. I have told you before of the robber bridegroom and how he was defeated by a clever girl. They nod, their eyes growing wide as my voice takes hold. Before his demise, he was the finest thief in the land, and this is because he knew the location of the shadow tree. What's a shadow tree, they ask in unison, and I put a finger against my lips to still their interruption. Where is your milk? Have you had your milk? They shake their heads. I take the jug of lukewarm liquid from the bedside stand and pour each a cup, dripping in mandrake juice from the vial in my pocket. Not enough to kill, but enough to make them sleepy and suggestible. They drink it down as I settle back in my spot. Shadow trees belong to the Earl King. I have told you of him also, and of his daughter who ran away and was punished with exile. The Earl King's trees are his doors to the upper earth, and this is how he travels the land. But if you know how, a shadow tree can also render you invisible. How, breathed Beldon. I knew this would pique his interest. Imagine the mischief he could do if he could not be seen. What follows you everywhere and yet gives you away, I asked. Your shadow, pipes Brunel. Exactly. But Robert Brighton knew how to pin his shadow to the tree without it to give him away. He could come and go into people's homes as he pleased. He wandered in and out, doing as he would. Was it great harm? Balder's eyes shine. Is there a shadow tree near here? Do you know, Ella? Surely you must. I purse my lips as if to restrain the secret, which makes him all the more urgent. You must tell me, Ella. You must tell me, or I shall have father make you. I suppress a laugh, as if this pup could influence his father one way or another with regard to me. I feel fear and I lean close. I whisper to them that, yes, there is a shadow tree in the forest, not far from the city walls. It's in the clearing where they sometimes go to play, where the 6 standing stones wait. I tell him it's best found in moonlight, when it will gleam like an angel's wings, and lo and behold, tonight is a full moon. I will not take them ere I tell them, and I am adamant in this. They will, I know, go without me. I tuck them into their beds and make them swear they will not go into the woods tonight. They will not look for the tree. They promise me with lying lips. They will stray, like so many others before them who find the shadow tree, and it will sense the mandrake in their veins. It will open the door in its trunk, and the children, drugged and malleable, will wander in and down into darkness, and they will make the journey I cannot. After leaving the room, I watch, pressing myself into an angle where corridor meets corridor. The door opens and they slip out, luminous in the dark, their hair washed by the lambent moonlight pouring in through the high windows. They walk down the hallway, now in shadow, now in light, disappearing and reappearing like ghosts. Turning right, they escape my view, taking the passageway that leads to a tiny palace garden. In the garden is a folly, made like a miniature castle, and in its floor is a trapdoor, which leads to a tunnel that comes up in the forest outside the city walls. I wait until I hear the faint click of the latch behind them, then step from the shadows. Another does the same, leaving her hiding place. In the Queen's hand is the posset I gave her. We stare at each other for a long time, so long that the cold begins to seep up from the flagstones into my feet. Perhaps we'll both freeze here. At last she raises the cup to her lips and drinks, her eyes never leaving mine. She nods and backs away and turns to continue the journey to her bedchamber. I will return to their father's bed and wake him with strange kisses. When his children go missing, what better alibi for me than the king? Soon I will make my way to another palace, another castle, to observe and judge the royal children who dwell therein. Soon I may again start to tell the story of the shadow tree. I will travel for as long as I must, telling my tales, collecting children to pay my fare back across the dark path, staying in one place only long enough until the whispers and the rumours grow too loud, too frequent. Soon I hope my father will forgive me. Soon I hope the Earl King will declare my exile at an end, and my escape from his realm pardoned. Soon I hope I will be allowed to go home.
Tale of dark fantasy indeed.